call this meeting of the Senate to order on Tuesday, October 14th at 6:10 p.m. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. So may everyone please stand. Senator Malonga, please lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is first roll call. So get out your clipboard. And click 1 to mark that you are present. Has everyone clicked in? With that, we have a count of 26. The next item on the agenda is additions, deletions, and/or clarifications in the orders of the day. Senator Ulloa.
I move to add local fee presentation after the Senate resolution on first reading.
Are there any objections to adding local fee presentation? Seeing no objections, this item has been added. Senator Drong.
I move to strike SA 55-028, 55-031 from the agenda. Because their constitutions aren't because they didn't respond to the email.
Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, these bills will be what? The other one is this one.
No.
Are there any other motions? Senator Hartman.
move to approve that.
Are there any objections to approving the agenda? Seeing no objections, the agenda is approved. The next item on the agenda is additions, deletions, and/or changes to the minutes. There have been no minutes sent out. So do I see a motion to postpone minutes? Senator Miller.
Move to postpone minutes.
Are there any objections to postponing minutes? Seeing no objections, minutes have been postponed to next week. The next item on the agenda is the legislative branch report. The next item on the agenda is legislative branch report, and we'll start with Senator Antar from the Committee on the Whole.
Hey everybody. Our committee didn't meet this past week. It was homecoming. I figured everybody else wanted to be out for homecoming and stuff. We also didn't meet the week before because we didn't have any business. So this week we will have business. I know President Porzies has some bills for our committee to consider. If the SOPs have come in from the agencies/bureaus as necessary, we'll review those. And yeah, we'll be meeting Thursday at 6 p.m. So.
Any questions for Senator Antar? Senator Ulloa.
Are you waiting for Title 8 to go from ASARC or are you working on it? Well, the thing about Title 8 to go from ASARC is that it doesn't have to go through rules and it goes straight to the floor as towards the report Z. But everything else other than the 804 bit, we'll make as another bill. So I know that your changes were in proviso, so those will probably be best tagged into the ASARC bill. Proviso, not the actual.
Are there any other questions for Senator Antar? Okay, we'll move on. Senator Johnson with appropriations and audits.
Hey guys, first off, I really want to thank my committee for being so interested in presenting these bills tonight and doing so well with auditing. I want the rest of the Senate to know that my committee has really taken the reins on doing audits. Each one of them have done at least one audit a week for the past couple weeks now, and it's pretty cool to see the result of that action. People are more interested, people are more excited about being involved. Senator Ramirez has actually done a lot and has brought us really good points that we're going to be talking about in our audit ad hoc, which I'm going to get to in a second. We are presenting, I guess, now 6 organizations tonight. We were really busy the past 2 weeks, and in this coming docket, we were able to kind of replenish that with even more organizations. We have another 6 coming up this week. But other than that, as far as the audit ad hoc goes, we didn't meet today, but we're currently drafting memos that talk about the strengths and weaknesses of other organizations' auditing procedures, and we're going to be discussing those in the next coming weeks, since we have 3 weeks left in the ad hoc to present a bill to you guys. So, pretty successful so far.
Any questions for Senator Johnson? Seeing none, we'll move on to Senator Trong from Judiciary and Ethics.
So this week, all we did, we had a really short, like 10-minute meeting going over our SOPs, outlining more of the investigation procedures, since the last time we did it, there were some things that weren't really clear. We're having one confirmation on Monday, and then we're gonna be starting department reviews from the executive branch, so we have chief of staff and 2 other ones that are going on Monday. So it's basically kind of like a full circle that we confirm them and then now like what they're doing. So JAC meets Monday, 3 p.m. You should be there. You're free.
Any questions for Senator Strong? Okay, Senator Ulloa, special funding.
So last week in special funding, we went through the last 5 applications for fall. Those are going to be put on the wait list. So if the money becomes available, then they will get funded. Otherwise, we're currently out of funds. We started for spring. We're going to continue. You just got 3 more applications for spring. So we'll be going on those next week because we did not meet this week because I decided to give a week off. Any questions? Oh, and October 24th, the engineering expo grant is due, and October 31st, the new tradition grant is due. Questions?
Thank you. Senator Harvey?
All right, at last week's meeting, we discussed our previous 10th day, which some of our committee members will be discussing their open forum. We kind of went over the results and did a SWOT analysis, which stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, to see how we could improve for future 10th days. Then we unanimously approved the SOP, standard operating procedures, of the committee. We also delegated certain tasks, such as the resolutions that we will be writing over the next couple of weeks. And in the future, we will be holding a 10th day on the next Wednesday about athletics, hosted and spearheaded by Senators Gibson and Sanchez. Dunkin' Donuts munchkins will be served there for people who take the response. And those munchkins will actually allow us to get more responses for less money, so we're being financially responsible as well. Then tomorrow, instead of a 10th day, because all of the iPads are taken for the midterm elections, we will be helping out the ERC station. So if you're a part of my committee, please show up at 9 a.m. or 9:30 to be ready at 10 polling in the MSC. And upcoming initiatives that we're working on includes getting some voice heard from graduate students because they feel like they are underrepresented, working on the next town hall coming up, then contacting departments with our survey results, and also TEDx USF, and also talking with CSI to discuss the selection of future artists at events such as Homecoming and Bullstock. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
President Aziz?
Hello everyone. Firstly, I'd like to welcome our transcriber Holly. So to help her make her life easier, say your name, or wait till Andy is called upon you. You have to say your name. Also, if you're part of the gallery making report, say who you are. Such as like when we have executive branch reports or judicial branch reports. And in terms of what we've been up to, we have, from the executive branch, we have applications for Mr. and Miss USF. If you would like to participate or you know someone that would like to do it, I'll pass around these applications. They are due on Friday. And on our end, just make sure all the committees are up to date. All our rules are up to date in legislation. And a bunch of meetings. Andy will touch on most of those, such as the Student Technology Advisory Council and the future of TechSmart. So, we'll go for those.
Okay, any questions for Pro Tem Aziz? Seeing none, I'll move into my report. First and foremost, I would like to request that everyone bear with me for whatever reason. I'm kind of losing my voice, so there's that. I hope everyone enjoyed homecoming week and enjoyed their week off in the Senate and is ready to work hard and diligently today. So since we last met, we had the SG Summit hosted by the court, which I think was really well. It went really well, and it was really cool getting to meet with people from all 3 branches of student, actually only St. Pete campus. So from the St. Pete campus of student government. Abdul has been setting up meetings with the transcribers to figure out who can go to what, and we finally have somebody in the Senate that can make the Senate, so I'm really excited for that. Since we last met, I also met with Abdul, and I also met with Dr. Miller about the conference presentation grant and some changes that he'd like to see to it. So that's something that I'll probably be presenting the rules and letting them decide on. I actually have a couple of those that I want to go through, but, I have a long list, so the next thing, the Esgato Assistant Director Committee met again this last week, and we are planning the phone interviews, so. We also had a meeting with, the Collegiate Leadership Program, the people from USA Today, to discuss getting new boxes or repainted boxes for, the free newspapers that student government pays for. Last week, the new book of bowl was announced and introduced, so if you would like to see one, they're actually really nice and really well done. Make sure to stop by the Alumni Association. Local feed met last week. It was an interesting meeting. They'll be meeting again next Friday, not this Friday, at 8:30 a.m. If you'd like to go to that, just ask me and I'll tell you what room it's in. And Corey's actually going to be presenting on local feed on what they talked about during the actual meeting. Last week I also was a judge for the homecoming parade, which is pretty cool. Just wanted to tell you guys that. We met with some of the people from Ricoh. If you guys don't know what Ricoh is, it's pretty much the company that makes all the printers on campus, all of those big industrial printers, to see if they can essentially give us the same thing that TechSmart gives us now for the student organizations and stuff. And so we're figuring that out. Abdul spearheaded a majority of the research. And we're trying to do something kind of similar to FIU, because FIU has a similar program with Ricoh. So if you have any questions about that, or if you'd like to be a part of that conversation, just let me know. Today, myself, Abdul, and Kristen, and Greg Berkowitz met with some of the people over in IT. We're a part of the Student Technology Advisory Council. And so we get to voice any concerns or anything that we'd like to see differently from IT. So if you guys actually have any concerns in terms of IT, please make sure to let one of us know so we can voice this problem and this concern to them. Two more things and I'm done. Okay, so midterm elections have already started. We need all the help we can get. I know that I've sent out that doodle that doc that John made like 3 times already. But if you have free time tomorrow, please come help. There's no, you can use all the help that you can get. And it's really important. We're trying to recruit really good senators. We want to make sure we have a good turnout in terms of voting. And the last thing I have is this coming Friday at 11 a.m. We're going to be having a meeting with the executive branch about the future of town hall and what we want to see in town halls. So if you're interested in coming to that, it's at 11 a.m. It's going to be in MSC 3701. And yeah, that's all I have. Are there any questions? It's this Friday at 11 a.m. 3701. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to executive branch report. Vice President Rondell White.
Good afternoon, everyone. How you doing?
Wonderful.
That's fine. Cool. Okay, so some updates. Our chief of staff updates, obviously. The Associate Justice and Director of University Affairs, the interviews have been completed for that. The Director of Programming interviews start and are going to be completed by Friday. Director of Governmental Affairs is now open, and on Saturday, November 1st, freshmen can walk on the field 90 minutes before kickoff. So email Greg if you want to sign up for that. Even if you're not a freshman, just email Greg. We'll walk on the field. That's always exciting. And for obvious reasons, because you guys are very well connected to a number of people in the student body, please do tell your friends, do tell people to apply for positions such as the Director of Government Affairs, etc. And then, okay, so under University Affairs, we're working on the It's On Us campaign, which, as most of you know, is a great movement launched in the White House to end sexual assault across campuses. So that's kind of, if you have the chance, please do go on the it'sunus.com and change your profile picture to the It's On Us thing. It's real nice. Take the pledge. Because I mean, you want to end sexual violence on campus, right? I think so. We're also working on memorial services, as well as preparing everything from the ceremony to the ribbon cutting. Safety. SAPRINE is still going through some minor changes, and hopefully that gets situated sometime very soon. But the staff is being trained on that. Our director, Michael Hathaway, has stepped down from the position, and his associate director is holding down for him this time. Programming updates. Thanks everyone who came out to the homecoming float on Friday. That was fun. Mr. and Mrs. USF applications are out and they are due this Friday. So, as most of you will have received, there's a flyer on your desk. Please give that to a stranger, and not a stranger who you think would probably apply for Mr. and Mrs. USF and say, hey, you should probably do it because it ends on Friday. That's kind of a big deal. In addition to that, we're encouraging you guys to give a final push in terms of promoting using like a social media campaign. If you can go onto the SG website, the SG Facebook page, and promote the graphic, because again, you guys are very well connected to the student body, and hey, you can Mr. and Mrs. yourself. So please do that. It's appreciated. SGCS, they have a new assistant director of technology, which started this week, and he's going up for JC competition on Monday, as Senator Trump has just said. Reviewing applicants for 2 additional CA positions, and wrapping up a couple initiatives as facility upgrades. And Bulls Radio, they are on college radio day, which had 100+ students within the actual so that's exciting. They received this year's shift, and we are handing them out. If you haven't received the shift, please go to Bulls Radio and get a shift, because obviously as college students, we love free shifts. Sports department is putting together a day in the life piece for athletics, where it's basically going to look at how USF football games go. We are hopeful. I really hope that we win on that game today. So let's see how that goes. And Luke and Zach met with IHF and athletics to plan for next year's tailgates, because they've actually passed all of the responsibility onto Bulls Radio. So that's going to be really exciting. So look out for that. So are there any questions? Seeing none.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Another one, please.
The next item on the agenda is judicial branch report. Justice Petros.
Hey everyone, how are you? Okay, so I'll just move right along. So we're in the midst of planning our annual judicial trip. We're going to be going to Miami, so that'll be fun. We're going to be going to the University of Miami and I think Florida International. It's in the works, but we're going to be meeting with their student governments and their college Democrats, college Republicans clubs, and going to hopefully Miami Law School and hopefully the courthouse in Miami-Dade County as well. So that's the work that'll be in November 13th through 15th, I believe. So the declaratory judgment panel met on Monday, and we will be publishing the opinion tomorrow. Our general meeting has changed times to 4 p.m. as opposed to 6 p.m. usual, so we'll be meeting in the conference room. So the ERC ROP revision committee is to finalize ROPs tomorrow at 2 p.m. We have parking appeals tomorrow here at 7:30. And as Rondell says, we have completed interviews for Associate Justice, and we believe that appointment shall be made sometime this week. And thanks for everyone who came out to the judicial summit. Any questions?
Next item is the SCOTA report. Director Manka.
We've been working on pretty much everything y'all have been working on. The only other thing that you don't know is probably the student government has been in negotiations with a website vendor to cover that, by the way. And there are some complications with the contract due to exclusivity clauses in the contract. So we're working with housing right now because they currently have affiliated housing contracts, a contract we're trying to enter into sort of contradicts those contracts. So as soon as we make a balance between the 3 contracts, we'll be able to offer an off-campus housing site website for any student seeking off-campus housing. How apartments, places to live in New York. last but not least, on November 4th, Tuesday, from 9 to 4, a composite photographer will be here for all student government members. So you need to sign up for 5-minute increments from 9 and 4 on Tuesday, November 4th. I'll leave it up here for the rule. So if you could legibly follow the directions, we appreciate that. That's it.
Are there any questions for Director Menka? Okay, we'll move into open forum. Senator Gibson.
Hi everyone, so like Brandon said earlier, we are doing our 10th thing next week about athletics, and we're really excited about it because we're having people from athletics come out, so we're going to see athletes to come. We're going to talk to the students and see what they want to see. We try to ask more questions than just the new football stadium and the better sports team, so we're just going to try to get a broad overview. And who likes donuts? Anyone like donuts? Yeah, donuts. So if you come, you might be able to get a free donuts. It was really fun. It's a good way to reach out to the students and see what they really want. I like learning about the results that we got from the last poll, and it was really cool interacting with them. And we all know you guys are going to be at bull market anyways to get free food, so you might as well do something for student government, get positive points. Yeah. So please show up. I'm going to send this list around, but it would mean a lot if you guys help out because like I have class all day Wednesday, and I know the class is an issue, but like just try to show up for a little bit.
Pro Tem Borzis.
I know Samuel's not here, but our September Senator of the Month is Samuel Triplett. He has some thoughts on him. He's feeling sick, so next week when he's better, I'll talk to him. And he gets a gift card.
Senator Dinser.
Hi. So I just wanted to give the survey results from our last 10th day. I know some of you guys have seen this packet, but just thought I'd present it. Most people who responded to our survey were juniors. A lot of people said that they would like to see more recycling bins everywhere. Also, slightly over half of people said that they'd be okay with like green colored graduation gowns made from recyclable material to like promote environmental sustainability. And a lot of people said that they'd like to see parking spot availability monitors. A lot of people in general, with the last question it was, what is one way you would improve USF? We have like a bunch of responses, I'm not going to read all like a million of them, but a lot of people said that they'd like parking to be, reformed. And a lot of people mentioned like solar panels. Some people said they stuff. I don't know what that means, but like the color green or anyway. So just to mention that in the future, the survey responses for the 10 days will be presented as like a nice PowerPoint so you guys can visually see what is going on. Okay, thank you.
Senator Ahmed.
I also want to reiterate on what Leslie said, but participating in 10 days. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm part of this committee, but I think everyone here should like participate in at least one. I had a ton of fun with it, and like you can get a real kick out of just like talking to random people and just like getting their input on what this university wants. So I think you should definitely sign up for the 10 days, even if you have classes, just for a little bit.
Senator Sanchez.
I just want to say congratulations to our fellow Senator Ikra for becoming homecoming queen.
Sorry. Senator Mwanga. Senator Lopez.
Okay, I just want to remind everyone that we didn't have a Gandhi Day this semester, but there's still going to be an SOS next semester. It's really early in the semester and signups end. So just get on that and try to get informed because they changed the structure a lot for it. Like you have to go do bold thing to actually register for it. So make sure you have an account. And I mean, it's really fun. Encourage any other organizations you guys are a part of to also get on the ball with it because a lot of things are changing. And if you're not informed, you're gonna miss out on a great day of service. So yeah.
Senator Ulloa.
So in a couple of minutes, I'm gonna be passing around our list of possible sports, intramural sports to play in spring. So at the very top will be a list of what sports are available, and if you're interested in any or multiple of them, just write your name and what sport you're interested in, so So we can figure out if we're gonna create a team, if we have enough people to create a team. So look out for that.
Something that I probably should have said in the beginning, but open forum is an opportunity for anybody, especially the people in the gallery, to say anything if they'd like to say anything to the general body of the Senate. So I encourage you guys to, if you have anything you'd like to tell us, to take this time to say something. Gentleman in the back, please state your name and then go ahead.
John Pills and Jimmy Abbiati and all of our supporters here. Maybe you get to say your name.
Bert Anderson.
Daniel Taveros.
You only have to state your name if you're gonna say something. Anything else for open forum? Senator Gluck.
I would like to thank Senex for approving my being that. I'm excited to be that.
Is there anything else for open forum? Seeing nothing else, we will move into general business. The first item on the agenda for general business is Senate resolutions on first reading. And we have SBR 55-006, support for electric vehicle charging stations. Do I see a motion under first reading? Senator Ahmed. Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, we are now in first reading. Councilman Aziz, floor is yours.
Alright, this is SBR 55-006, support for increase of electric vehicle charging stations. So I want to read the resolution, then we have the individuals that did a petition for it, they'll come forward and speak for a little bit and take a picture. So, be resolved by the Senate of the University of South Florida Student Government assembled, whereas 1,068 student signatures have been made in favor of expanding the existing system of USF electric vehicle charging stations. Whereas the students asked for representation in USF Tampa with regard to the initiative to support clean and renewable energy. Whereas the students support the Student Green Energy Fund and relevant institutions in an investment in electric vehicle charging stations for the future. Therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the University of South Florida Student Government assembled that on behalf of the student body, the electric vehicle charging stations should be expanded at the University of South Florida to meet the demands set by registered electric vehicles on the Tampa campus.
Do I see any motions or questions? Senator Gibson. Are there any objections to passing this resolution by acclamation? Seeing no objections, this resolution passes. Say a word or two.
Yes.
Just make sure to state your name.
I'm Rick. I'm Bert Anderson. I just want to say, I think moving forward with this will represent a symbolic and functional partnership between the university itself and motivated students like John and Jimmy who are really going to move things forward and be the face of USF in an ecological sense, making things greener. When incoming students walk by and see a Chevy Bolt or a Tesla plugged into solar panels outside the engineering building, they're really going to see that this is a green school, and I think this is a good thing to do.
My name is Jimmy Abbiati, and I just want to kind of like share my experience of owning an electric vehicle. I've owned it for 5 months, and in these 5 months I've learned that we're a community, we're almost like a family, and we look out for each other, and we kind of have a handicap with these vehicles, mainly because they're in their primitive stages of development, and that handicap is a limited range as far as how far you can travel with these cars. So the expansion of these charging stations is essential for us, mainly because a lot of people like Bert who have a car who is strictly dependent on electricity, if he doesn't get here and charge it, he might not be able to fully use the vehicle for the whole day. So me personally knowing that he has this handicap, in between my classes, I go to the charging station and I take out my charger and I plug it into this car. And I do this out of my own goodwill because I know simply we have only a few charging stations right now, and we have over 27 registered vehicles, and we literally fight over these stations. And I have had many days where I've had to come here 2 hours early just to get a charging station, and sometimes even some USF employees, they take them up and they don't have any access to these charging stations, and we have to wait for those charging stations to free up before we leave so we can charge our cars. So approving this would really help us as far as even the future for the growing economy in this perspective of cars.
Hey guys, Jake Levine for anyone who didn't hear that the first time. While I do not drive an electric vehicle, I definitely support it because actions like this, adding more charging stations, they kind of set the playing field for like further advancements to kind of popularize the use of electric cars, and ultimately, will end up impacting the environment positively. There may be, some people might say, well, the electric car, is still taking, power from, an energy source that uses fossil fuels. Well, that's true, but the efficiency out of a power plant might be 60%, whereas combustion in a car is 20%. So in the long run, you are saving, energy, and so yeah, just the charging station is just another way to help pioneer this technology. It might, there are probably maybe people that say, electric cars might be impractical, whatever, but one day they, just the way gasoline cars are the most popular use of transportation. Electric cars might be one day also. So this is just another step in pioneering, like the next step in technology in transportation. So yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
My name is Daniel Taveros. All I have to say about this is it's an engineering major. I initially came here my first semester, and I was not very optimistic about green energy in the future, but this plan of action has re-sparked my enthusiasm that in the future we will not be fully dependent on fossil fuels but on renewable energy. So to me that's really exciting, and I hope to be a part of that.
Well, I would like to say to each and every single one of you who's looking at your computer screen, I would like to ask all of you to give attention to this one thing, and I would like to ask that instead of us sitting here and just having a resolution, something that we're saying in words, I would like to see something in action. Something where we are working with our school, which is all independent little pockets of people not working together. I would like to see our school having interdisciplinary action to actually do things that are worthwhile for our school. As awesome as I would say it is to celebrate our milestones, to celebrate our achievements, I would also like to see our school make achievements. I would like to see, when I look at that Sierra Club ranking as number 7 for the green schools, I would like to see that all of it is the truth. And quite honestly, it's not. When I look at the first sentence for that ranking, it says we have a solar electric carport. Now, I understand we all support electric cars, but the fact of the matter is, until I have taken the time to do this, no one has said anything. And everyone's like, yeah, go green. But what does it mean to go green? Does it mean we're just going to sit down and support it, or are we going to do something about it? So I'm asking every single one of you, when you take a look at all these green projects, to see what they actually are doing and what the implications of them are. Because when I take a look at these wonderful things that the Student Green Energy Fund has done, I see them and I see how they function, but it's something where we have the collective brain of our Senate, of our student government, to actually make a change that will really help us for the future. Now, the reason why I'm here for the charging of electric vehicles, I'm here because I want to see something that will last beyond my time here. I'm here just for another year. I'll be gone. So I won't be here to speak, true. But I am speaking for those after me who are coming here
who wants to have an electric car, and who will look at our school and will say, you know what, it's impractical to own an electric vehicle on campus. And don't tell me that people can't invest in electric cars, because people here invest in a lot more expensive cars than mine. Mine is, I will say, a $40,000 Chevrolet Volt. I am proud to have it, and I have made that investment in it because I believe in it. But I know other people like myself who do believe in this, but because they have a job, they don't have time, of which my friend Jimmy here took off from his job to come to this meeting to prove my point. And also Britt as well, with his Nissan Leaf. I would like it that we could have something that we represent our students who can't represent themselves here. I would like to see our student government taking action to help everyone on campus who has a need, including the electric vehicle driver. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the local fee presentation. Senator Yoloa. The floor is yours.
So what I'll do is I'm gonna go through like briefly and somewhat quickly, so we don't waste all the time. Some of the proposals and what everything is and what they want, so that I can get some of your opinions on what each thing is. At the very end, I'm just gonna go through each one briefly, then I'm gonna show you guys the chart at the very end of everything that's on the list, and that way we can talk about each one. If you guys have certain things that you guys feel strongly about or have opinions about, I'll go and take notes so that when we discuss it next Friday, I'll have more feedback from you who represent the students of campus. So I guess the first one is up to you guys. We can pretty much just scroll through, but it's pretty much the state mandatory increases for salaries. And so this is all the people. I believe this is A and S right now that we're looking through. So it's all the A and S. So it's everyone who works for maybe Marshall Center, Campus Rec, Mr. Manka, any of the people who work for A&S departments that have state mandatory salary increases, and so that's the first one. The second one is summer programming. So as we have more students coming in summer term, we want to do more programming for them over summer, not just have them have empty campus. They want to do maybe a bowls night out, maybe a couple bowls night out, stuff like that. SG coordinator, so that's a new coordinator to help out with SG and all its ongoing projects, supervising all 100 and something that work for SG. You have all the agencies, all of that. So that's the next one. This is the USF Health Student Activity Center. There was CTIF funds that were already allocated for USF Health within the development of Fitness Center. However, they're asking, Campus Rec is asking in ASARC and local fee for staffing in order to staff this gym once it comes up. And so that's $67,000. That's going to be about, I think, quarter year or third year of staffing for this gym for next, it's supposed to be by next March. So March 2016, I believe. And so this will be for next fiscal year of having staff. That way we have a new rec center over there in health. Camp U session, so Camp U wants to add a second session to what it already has, and so the $10,000 will be a lot of the traveling that they do, strength inventory, promotional items, food, everything for the second event. The students do pay to go, but Camp U has some extra stuff that New Student Connections provides for them outside of this cost. The student leader pay is going to be for the like peer leaders and everything that already works there, and so that they can get money for some of their peer leaders and student leaders. A summer intern. This is going to be, they want to, I think, a grad, a part-time, I think like grad, I think is what they were saying. that would help plan a lot of things come here over summer and plan a lot of things for coming up here and over summer. We have that. Assistant Director Promotion, Office of Multicultural Affairs. Their Assistant Director has been doing a lot of extra work. I believe they have a director, an assistant director, and then just a student. They just hired a coordinator. Okay, and a coordinator. And so this person's been doing a lot of work, so they want to promote him to an associate director, which would increase pay, I believe, with benefits, $10,000. Next thing is Office Authority wants a new grad assistant because they've been having a lot of increased programming. They have new fraternities and sororities constantly coming on campus and recruiting. So to manage all of the work they do, they would like a new graduate assistant. Capital replacement plan for campus rec. The $68,000 is for a reoccurring every year. As equipment is breaking or giving out, they want to be able to fix it before it actually breaks on students. So they want to be able to go through and check all their equipment and replace it as they're getting old. A lot of the equipment there is, they said, good for 3 to 5 years, and they're coming across that point. And so they want to be able to get the money to start replacing equipment each year. And then the P3 Rec Center Public-Private Partnership is going to be for the rec center that they're planning on building over in Andros. Right now, I think the estimated finish date is, I want to say it's fall of 2017, honestly. But I think for one of them. So they want to get a coordinator to start planning ahead of what they want in this building for 2017. So that's the A&S increases. Health. So health is asking for 5 things. So the first one is state mandated salary increases, the same thing as the A&S, which is increases mandated by the state, which these pay for their salaries anyways. Those are all mandated by the state anyways. The next one is market-based salary increases. And so this is for, most of them are for people who do certain jobs and they're getting paid below what the market-based person, so anyone out in the workforce. What I was told was that they only pay the people at the university only make about 80% of what market-based around outside of campus is anyways. And so they're going to this. So that's what those increases are. The next one is they want an SOS manager. Right now they only have 2 people that do case loads. They have about 500. So the case managers do about 500 referrals a year, and there's only 2 of them doing 500 referrals. And so they want a new one. That way, they've been increasing 20% each year, and that way they make sure that they're overseeing all the caseloads properly and making sure these students are getting help they need. Victims advocate, they want a new one for that. 150 members that are reoccurring and 370 that are new. So that's 500 members there that they have over at Victims Advocacy. Yeah, so they want a new victim advocate to help with that caseload. And the last one is a counseling center. They want a new psychologist. And that one, and that's just to help with a lot of things they have over the counseling center and making sure the students have the help they need. Last year they said they had an increase too, especially with events off campus that occurred, and they had a lot of students and they were having trouble doing it. Along with that, our counseling center has like a 5-step plan of what they need to keep their accreditation according to, I think, the state or nationals. And so the psychologist is the first step in their 5-step plan in order to get there. So that's that one. And the last one is athletics. So the first thing for athletics is they want the state mandatory salary increases for all their staff. The next one is cost of attendance. So I sent you a website if you want to fly over there. Right, the NCAA just passed a rule saying that athletics can pay for full tuition, the cost of attendance for schools. And so what happened was before so before they were allowed to pay up to the $17,000 for an in-state tuition thing, or whatever the out-of-state tuition is, they're allowed to pay that. But there's a $4,000 of extra that they weren't allowed to actually do, which was other expenses, and I believe part of it was in supplies, so it's 4,400 per athlete. And so that'll cost them, it's 158 athletes, it would cost them about $760,000, and they're asking, the fee for $600,000 of it. And then the last one is, student initiatives, and so they wanna do a lot more things with students. Mr. Coco asked the committee, athletics for details to present to next meeting, but this is things that include free parking at Raymond James, more things like Marshall Mayhem, possibly a concert after one of the football games, so you finish the game, you stay and you have a live concert, things, so the Herd of Thunder is somewhat funded by the College of Arts, but they said not heavily funded, and they were saying that the marching band's been paying off uniforms for 8 years, and they really want to possibly have money in order to bring the band to some of the away games, a couple of away games, because the band pays a lot of out of pocket for everything, and they want to be able to help them since the band is there at a lot of their events and everything, along with the Sundolls and Cheer Squad, because I know when I talked to a Sundoll, she said she got paid like $250 a semester to perform, to be a Sundoll. So they want to be able to provide them bring them to the games and stuff like that, and actually be able to support a lot of their costs that much paid for. Athletics is saying that they want Rocky to be able to make sure that they attend, because if Rocky goes anywhere, athletics pays for Rocky. So if Rocky travels with the president to France, then athletics incurs the cost for that to represent the university. Things like that is what athletics wants for $150,000. So I'm gonna pull up. Which one I do the list of? Yeah. So this is an overview of all the things. I don't know if you guys can see it, that the committee's been discussing. The things in yellow are the things that the committee feels are important, but they haven't figured out an amount of what they think they should allocate, if anything. The green are things that the committee already decided that it's not, none of it is in stone until the last meeting, but the green is what the committee thought was important to fund and suggest increases for. So do you guys have any thoughts of any of this?
Senator Hibbo.
Last week, what is that the local committee approved decision but didn't fund for it last year?
Which ones?
Was it victim advocacy? Victim advocacy.
So what happened was last year the committee met on a lot of them, especially the health ones. I think all of these were approved. But the board of trustees decided that no increases would occur. So that included housing, local fees, and everything else. So the committee had approved it and sent it, but the board of trustees said no increases. So no increase was put on students for that.
Senator Lopez.
So I might not have heard you, but you said what the green and yellow mean, so what about the ones in white? I've already not highlighted at all.
The one in white we have not even discussed yet.
Oh, okay.
So the one in white are their options, but they haven't been discussed. We tried going through the more important ones first, right? We're at the total of increase is $2.16. The max we're allowed to increase is $1.82. So we have to cut places, and so if we're going to fund anything, and so we decided to look at the things we thought were most important first, and so that's why we have green and yellow, and we haven't even talked about some of the white ones.
Senator Gibson.
So, yellow is what you think is important, or is?
It's stuff that the committee said they'd like to discuss next week in April.
Okay, so we'll get the, what you're talking about.
Yeah, anything is on the table, so essentially in the committee, I thought the Camp U was important. I can say I would like to talk about Camp U and we can discuss it. But we've been going for more important things first to try to talk about what we're at before we go through things that we don't think are necessary.
Senator Hibbo.
Council of attendance, I heard about it earlier today on the newspaper and school newspaper. Is it more or less basically the university paying for all the expenditures of athletic students, or students involved in athletics?
This would go to $4,400 would be to increase the scholarships offered to the 158 full scholarship athletes. So it's 158, I get the $17,000 amount to pay for their tuition and everything else. The 4,400 is for what the university classified as other expenses. I think everything including food, healthcare, transportation, miscellaneous personal items such as laundry, toiletries, healthcare, clothing, and entertainment. And what athletics said was part of it is to pay for, because of 17,000 is for all of housing that.
Senator Lopez.
Your email we said about like it's at $5.16 right now, but it can only do what?
So the request out of all, so 11 from A&S, the 3 from athletics, and the 5 from health, all adds up to $2.16, so we can only do $1.82. This is the max we're allowed to increase it.
Allowed by like what?
By state statutes.
So even including the stuff that the state is already putting on there?
So the stuff that the state increased is 76 cents at the top. So the max we can do out of all of these is $1.06.
Well, I'm just asking, like, why would that be included if they're forcing us to do it in the first place? Does that make sense? Like, I feel like it kind of takes away from the other things.
Because we don't technically have to approve those, and essentially they can cut like all hours of operation in order to cut the costs.
Okay.
So there's other ways that they can get the money out. Let's say the clinic has to pay for some of their staff, they can decrease hours by an hour for the city health clinic in order to pay up the money.
Okay.
So are there any thoughts, especially the ones in yellow and white that you think are important, unimportant, the things in green that mostly if it's unimportant because they've already talked about the committee, so we really want to get your input to that, so when I go to committee I can be like, this is what a lot of people think and what we think about this.
Senator Hibble.
For regarding athletics, there's already need-based programs where students in athletics that help cover the cost of entertainment, food, and living for US athletes and stuff like that.
What they said was that these full scholarship athletes, the point of the full scholarship is so that they're not taking out loans because it's essentially a way to keep our school competitive in the market for athletes against any other schools, so that if UCS is going for the same athlete and we can scholarship, they're more likely to come here, whereas if we're not offering full scholarship and UCF is, they're more likely to go to UCF. And so that was the reason for that.
Senator Serino.
Senator Lowe, can you elaborate more what the student leader position is? Is that I don't understand, is that a new position they're creating, or is that just a sustenance to a position they already have?
I believe what they said was that they have 26 student leaders, and New Student Connections has 26 student leaders, and so like $7,500 would be essentially to pay some of these, I guess, networking groups and stuff, because you might know a bit more than
Councilman Voorhees, sorry.
So the student leader pay is, they already have those existing employees, and it's to increase the pay and the hours among those 26 or so students we have. Like when I was in charge of a network, maybe like 5 hours a week. I'm guessing this will go towards increasing that to maybe 6 hours a week.
Senator Lopez.
Okay, I had a statement to say about one of the ones that haven't been considered yet, I guess. I just wanted to speak up for at least like the also thing, and I know it's like cliche because obviously I'm in Greek life, but over the summer and like this semester I've been involved with recruitment and stuff, and I know people always question how Greek life is because it's not everyone on campus, but in reality the office itself provides a service for all the students, and I feel like that biggest service is recruiting people to come and join these organizations, and a lot of their stuff is based off volunteers. So I feel like it would be nice for them to throw in another graduate system in there, just because it is in need. Some of the times, like you have like one time slot appointment with these people, and if you miss it, you're kind of out of luck for like a month or two. So I just want to speak out for that. I'm not sure who's in the committee or if anyone can speak out for that. So I just want to throw my 2 cents for that.
Senator Gibson.
About what cost of attendance for athletics. So they're requesting 600,000. Would the local school committee be able to partially fund that or partially do that?
Yes, we can partially fund anything on the list.
Well, because that's the majority of what the increase is, and it's already putting us over the $1.82 limit, so I mean, that's my opinion is like partially funding that, so it's not, putting us over the cap that we have.
Senator Semino.
Just to speak on behalf of Greek Life again, to actually start with it. The staff is, as someone who works in that office, I don't work, I volunteer as I'm on the executive board. The staff is run very thin. They work crazy hours, and Senator Blunt, I can probably also explain some more, so can Senator Hainline have all been the executive board with me. They're run very thin. Anyone board operating to run a student body of organizations, it's very difficult for us to be as productive as we could be. This goes for all the other councils because our mentorship is very limited and our meeting times are limited. There's a lot of times we will have an advisor in our executive meetings because they have to attend to other things. That hinders our ability to serve the students.
Pro Tempore Aziz.
One thing that I would question as a request is the rec center coordinator for Andros. They're requesting money for a coordinator for a building that's not built yet. The company that they're supposed to partner with they haven't found the company yet, so it'd be questionable to fund a coordinator for a building that's not built yet, or if there's a partner to build that building yet.
Senator Hartman.
Well, that can we say the same for that regarding the USFL Student Activity Center, since that would take time to build as well. And also going off the Greek, I'm also a member of the Greek community, not the traditional. I'm more the multicultural side, and we do all our recruiting on our own without like the council. In my council, at least, it is more like fraternity based rather than council based, and I could say that we have done everything on our own without the help of OFSL, so I do want you guys to know that it is possible to do it without OFSL, and that OFSL barely helps us, so we don't need anything. But that's just my opinion.
Senator Johnson.
I think I am a member of a social fraternity that is under the purview of OFSL, and I would just like to say that there are, by deciding to increase the amount per credit hour that students are charged, the Senate is kind of endorsing certain organizations and the policies behind those organizations. So what I would really encourage is that if you don't know necessarily what things are being requested or what the implications could be, you try to ask about it. Like for example, even though I am a part of a social organization that's under the purview of OFSL, I don't think it's appropriate to increase money giving or allocation towards OFSL because I don't necessarily agree with the purpose of OFSL. So whereas I could definitely an extra graduate assistant might help the operations of OFSL, I would say that the question is not so much would it be helpful as in is that something as a student and representing the student body something I would support, and I would say no. So I think you can kind of make an argument about a lot of these things, and what makes it even more interesting is that when they get to ASAR, it's going to be it's not just like 29 cents looks really small, 77 cents looks really small, but at the end of the day, we're like putting our stamp of approval on these measures and these programs, and I really want you guys to take it seriously. So.
I guess I should explain real quick, just so that you guys know. So this is the dollar amount. So when you see like 2.6, that's about 3 cents per credit hour per person, and that's how much you guys would be increasing. So you guys can look at that too to see how much this thing is increasing. So like the athletics fee would essentially be about 62 cents per credit hour per student.
Senator Hibbo.
Can somebody explain what exactly OFSL does?
Senator Sanchez would be a great person.
Alright, I'm actually a student assistant in the Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life. So what we do is we advocate for and advise the social letter Greek organizations on campus. Anything from helping the councils out with recruitment, helping them out with risk management policies, making sure they're following the university's policies or national organizations policies and the policies set by OFSL. We do a lot of like social event training. We have standards of fraternal excellence to make sure that they're living up to their values and doing what they say they're going to do. We also advise for them and we advocate for them. Just kind of we're a liaison for them through the university and through their national organization.
Senator Gibson.
I agree with Senator Sanchez and the necessity of OFSL, and I disagree with Senator Johnson because we are senators and I'm part of a Greek organization. I'm representing my constituency, which includes Greek life members. And personally, I'm risk management for my sorority, and hostile is the only way that we can have safe events and making sure, like, ensuring the security and, safety of Greek members. It's, Greek life is expanding and they talk about expanding like right now, tonight, I think at a Panhellenic meeting. So, kind of denying that is just putting a lot of stress on the people like Senator Sanchez who are already working in there, and just, I think it's something for you guys to consider in the committee. I do think it's necessary, and I think it's best for the safety of our students.
I think the grad assistant for the Office of Attorney and Sorority Life has been discussed about plenty, so unless you have, I'm only taking points involving anything else on this list. Pro Tem Borzis.
I'm just gonna say that we're not doing a stamp of approval or anything about it, just to help Corey and Coco get opinions, because like, we can say whatever we want, but at the end of the day, it's people on committee, so just share your opinions. Approving or denying anything.
Senator Semino.
Since I just speak to this large, it seems like a large line item budget, line item on the budget. What do student athletes right now that are out of state pay, and how much of this honestly impact them as students? But also, they are an important percentage of our university, but I'm sure the majority of students here take out student loans. So I just want to know what great effect that will have on them.
So essentially, any athlete that gets a full scholarship, this is only full scholarship athletes, and there's 158 of them. They get paid whatever the cost of tuition is. So in-state tuition, they get paid $6,000 to $9,000 and $1,000. And out of state, they get to $17,900 and $1,000. So essentially, they're not, the only difference in this tuition, cost of tuition is the other expenses. Essentially, they're now allowed to pay for other expenses and give them that money. And so that's the difference in this. So if they're coming out of state, they get the full tuition of room and board, tuition, and books. And out of the in-state, it's same thing, price for. So the money there is particularly the $4,400 of others.
Senator Hibbo.
Can you scroll down here where it describes what other expenses?
And then, in case you can't read it, it says, includes transportation and miscellaneous personal expenses, such as laundry, toiletry, healthcare, clothing, entertainment, etc. Senator Hibbo.
Is healthcare supposed to include insurance?
That is up to, it is decided by the university financial aid, and I guess it could be anything from health insurance or just doctor visits, anything from that. That's what I can assume. I can only assume what's based on the website, and this is off of the financial aid website from USF.
Senator Semino.
So I know something we talk about a lot in special funding when it comes to travel grants, is we say that like when they ask for food, we always say of our standards that, you know, whether you go on this trip or not, you're gonna have to pay for your food. Like if you stay here, you're paying for your food. If you go away, you have to pay for your food also. I think it's also like applies to this also, like if a student decides not to go to college to be a student athlete, decides to go their own track and join a running club, say for a track athlete, or something, or go to Europe and play soccer, whatever is out of high school, they're gonna have those expenses still, whether or not they join a team. So like as students, whether or not you join an athletics team, you still have to do your laundry, you still have to pay for toothpaste. And so there's just these are things like if they weren't an athlete, they'd still have to pay for them.
Senator Sanchez.
I just want to say that my view on this is that this keeps us competitive. While I know if they weren't an athlete, they have to pay for stuff like this. Universities like the University of Florida, Florida State, and other major athletic, not based universities, but other universities that have great athletic departments, they're already doing this. They're paying for this for their athletes. So this is just kind of keeps us competitive, whether or not we agree with it. I think it really helps the direction of our athletics program and where we want to go. I know USF has a lot of bold pride and want to see that shown on the athletics field, and this is just a means of accomplishing that, whether or not you personally agree with that. It's kind of the way that the collegiate athletics world is turning, so we want to stay competitive to kind of have to do that.
So, I know we have 2 athletes in the room too, at least, so I don't know if you want to get their opinion sometime later too.
I was like,
Senator Williams.
like how with the, if you're a full-time athlete, it's hard to, like where are you gonna get that money? for the extra expenses, because it is extremely hard to have even a part-time job when you are an athlete working 40 hours a week. Fortunately for me, well, as far as if this was to take effect now, that wouldn't affect me because I'm a partial student athlete, which means that I'm even worse off than that because I don't get that much money. So which is another thing why and then RA helps and stuff like that. But there's been times, there's reason why this legislation is in place because a lot of athletes go hungry. There's been times during the summer where I had to either choose to take out a student loan or have something to eat. And I made that decision where I wasn't going to take out a student loan, so I didn't have anything to eat. So it's very, I don't know. I'm gonna meet with the athletic director so I can get more points on this. But whether or not we agree with this $600,000, or make it less, I think that needs to be looked at. Because like I said, the other expenses, how are you gonna pay for those other expenses? Because it's hard for you to have a job. And the example you use, that individual, I doubt if they're gonna be working as rigorous as a student athlete, so they would have time to have a job to pay for those other expenses.
Ladies in the gallery, please. Please state your name, by the way.
I'm Monica. I'm a student athlete here. Being a student athlete, it's kind of like having a job. I mean, my morning starts at 5:45 in the morning, and I'm still here at school, and I don't know what time it is right now, but this is a full-time job for us. You know, we don't have that much time to, like, I didn't have that much time to eat lunch. Like, it's just I don't know, it's, like, I don't get that much money that says for those full scholarships. Like, I'm not on full scholarship, so I don't even see that much money. So, I think it's helpful.
Thank you. Senator Johnson.
So while I definitely completely agree that many of the things on the local fee request are necessary, my biggest concern is whether or not we should increase the tuition of every student in the school to pay for the things. And that was an argument I made back at the Senate workroom, is that while I could definitely see, for example, having a graduate assistant in OPSL or having that extra $600,000 going towards the athletic program for some necessary things, I don't feel that increasing the cost of attendance for students is the best way to do that. I feel that this student body has a lot of money. The administration of this school spends a lot of money, and I have a principled issue with supporting increasing the cost to go here to pay for things that should already be there. Especially given that, like, the interim budget accounts, for example, just in my personal experience, we have $150,000, we spend $60,000 over the year, the rest of it gets swept back to something else. In ASAR, we spend $14.6 million to allocate that, less than $2 million goes to actual student organizations, the rest of it goes to departments. That to me is a bigger issue than, I don't know, that's something I think you guys need to consider, and I completely sympathize with that. I tried to do rowing practice one day, no, done. So I completely hear what you guys are saying, but I really wish that, I really would hope that somehow we can alleviate your practice, your struggle, so.
Senator Hibbo.
During student organizations, I know that when they ask for funding, we can refer them to places on campus or places near campus that can do the same services for us. Regarding things like housing, meals for entertainment, could the school just give athletes free meal plans, free housing, instead of giving them a cash amount for their own meal plans and their own ideas of dining, their own housing options? Because I feel like that would be less expensive for the school, just giving them the things directly instead of cash.
Sure.
So, to answer your question, essentially, each branch, essentially by giving away them this money, and so they need more. So if housing gives all these athletes free housing without having money from athletics, then therefore they're in their hole, so they're going to increase rent for every other student anyways, in order to get the money that they want to get from there. Same thing for Aramark and so on. So essentially, the money has to come from somewhere, and essentially that's how they do it, rather than. So like if Aramark gave free meal plan, they'd be losing money, and so therefore they would raise money for everything else in order to make up for it, and that's why.
Senator Lopez.
Is this going to be meet every year to pretty much establish what's going to happen next year?
This
This committee meets every year in order to look at the fees and everything. So it's all recurring costs. Essentially next year, they're gonna come back and look at certain things again. So, if it doesn't pass this year, some of the stuff can be on the list for last one. These, I don't know, these three things were on the list last year, and because there's no fee increases, they're back on the list this year in order to get through this year.
So, to be like more proactive on it, I guess, like for the future, is there any way to see more like student inputs? Like, I feel like we keep talking about how like this is where we want to go. Like when Taylor was mentioning like the athletic department, like that's where we want to go. But who is that we? I think we should be asking people who are paying that fee itself. I mean, that goes for anything because it goes like under the office stuff. It goes to the athletic fees. I mean, as a university, as the students who are paying for that fee, where do they want to go? What if the majority really doesn't care that much about the athletic program or us? So I mean. I wonder if there's a way to be more proactive about it, to see more feedback instead of just a few people on the committee itself.
So what happens is the committee only meets 4 times. And so these departments aren't required to make their list until I believe it was the end of September. So like by the 1st of October is when they had to submit their request. So until then, no one even knew what these requests were, and none of these were presented on. So we could post this list the second they get it, but none of them would know any of it what it is because none of the departments have explained what each thing is yet.
Okay.
And so we met, I think October 3rd. I think was the first day we actually met and had these health, athletics, and A&S actually present to us what each thing was in this list.
Okay.
So that's the reason for it.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. I just wanted to throw it out there because I feel like it'd be, like I said, it'd be good to be proactive about it. Maybe like whoever's in charge of putting that deadline to see like what fees they want to put in there, move it back, or I mean, I'm not sure how it's gonna work, but I just feel like the fewer people that already decide on it, the fewer we have to get to student body can change for that.
So I know they put it up on the city government Facebook page. They tried doing that, and then we're coming here to try getting some representation.
Pro-Tem Aziz.
I do agree with this, there should be at least some feedback before they decide on what they're gonna propose. But in terms of feedback, this is the first year I think we've ever asked for Senate feedback or student feedback. So it's like, it's good that we're having at least someone knows about it, because usually most years, no one knows it exists. It passes, and everyone's like blindsided, like, oh, you passed this fee, are you fees are increasing for this, and no one knows, so.
In the gallery, Mr. Thomas.
This is going to help the athletes, I guess, do what athletes do, right? So this is going to basically pay their way without them having to take out student loans. Is that what we're looking at right now?
This will help the 158 it only helps full scholarship athletes to get the extra money to pay for possible food expenses, housing, other expenses that's listed on the website.
Can you tell me how that's different from a normal athlete?
So full scholarship athletes actually get the full cost, and then some of them only get partial tuition, so they won't necessarily get this full cost. I know
So
the athletes that I said earlier, so like the athletes that was talked are not full scholarship athletes, so they don't get the full cost of tuition, so they wouldn't necessarily get this increase. Athletics has the possibility to give them the extra $1,000, but this is just for full.
The reason why I ask is to be fair for non-athletic students who do have basically a full ride. If they can't afford something based on the fact that their funding is run out, they typically take out student loans. So why are we going to show favoritism toward athletes and give them something that when they have the option to take out student loans? That's my question.
Is there anything else in terms of local fee? Senator Gibson.
May I ask Brandon?
Hmm?
May I ask Brandon? Would this be something that our committee could do? Like when are they deciding on it?
Friday the 24th.
Friday the 24th?
So a week from this Friday.
Is
So
there
next week Friday.
any way we can do like a survey about it online and put on the student government page? Like it's not complete student outreach, but it might be a little bit more oriented towards student responses.
Why am I raising my hand? So aren't you having a 10-day on that athletics on Tuesday? Or on Wednesday, excuse me. So if you added a question about it, that'd be something that Corey could bring to the committee in a week and a half. Just a thought.
So you guys can give me as much feedback as you want, whether you email it to me, leave it on my desk, anything. Along with that, you guys can always talk to Coco. He's also in the committee. The committee is 3 students and 3 faculty, and that's who makes decisions. So Coco and I just happen to be 2 of the students that are on it, which is why I'm bringing it to you. The other option is I know the student government Facebook page did publish all the documents essentially of what they're asking for, the descriptions, this list, along with I just posted a comparison of what their revenue is and where a lot of this costs go to, what the money I already have. So if you guys want to look at that, you can also go there, and people can post on there, and I've been reading all those comments as well.
Senator Malonga.
Just out of curiosity, you may have said this and I missed it, so I apologize if you did. If one of these fee requests is approved, let's pick one we talked a lot about, the cost of attendance for athletes, if it's approved, there's no requirement for athletics to actually use the money. It's flexible spending in other words, right? So they can use that $600,000 in any other means they see fit, correct?
Yes, any of this money is flexible spending, so it's essentially supposed to be for that, but they can, just like ASAR can put it anywhere we want. So just because we fund any of these things here does not mean it's gonna get passively spent. I mean, it's encouraged, but it's not required.
Senator Trump.
At the local meetings on Fridays, do other people want to get a seat, or is it only
It's mostly committee members right now just because we've been discussing, but anyone, I know other people have spoken at the previous meetings as well. But I know they're limiting outside speakers because we're on a deadline of we have to get through the rest of it by next Friday. And it's a 2-hour meeting. And that's most people know.
Is there anything else? Senator.
I would just like to make a quick comment with regards to the favoritism. You said that like because an athlete will receive extra benefits, and for regular students who's on full-time, they might have the same struggle, but they won't be receiving this benefit. But the thing about it is that a regular average student could get a job, but an athlete, it's difficult for that athlete to get a job to pay for those extra expenses. That's the difference. And I know a lot of athletes who went to the coach and said, hey, can I get more money? And the coach has said, no, I can't do it. And they've quit the sport. And when you quit the sport, that hurts. That's hurt our competitiveness when we go to different states and different things like that. We lost a good 400 runners. So like now what are we going to do? So those are the types of things that you have to think about.
Well, the question is
Senator Hibbo.
With regards to that statement, how would providing extra time for athletes who are already getting full scholarships be better than, say, providing additional funds to athletes who are not getting full scholarship already? As in, those athletes are just as eager for getting a job, they're more likely to withdraw to get
I think the biggest part of this is the fact that they want to be competitive with the best athlete. They want to be able to get some of the best athletes in the nation. And if one university can offer you a full ride plus your extra expenses and one can't, you're going to be more likely to go to the university that gives you that extra money. So I think in terms of the reason that they're doing this for full scholarship athletes, it's just to stay competitive.
That's the main reason that they're doing it. They want to be able to stay competitive and also provide means for it. So they're realizing that some of their full-time athletes, maybe they're a soccer forward or they're a football quarterback. When they come to pay for meals, they might be running out of money, and because they're putting so much time, they realize that if they go into a house with an athlete and we're offering, let's say, the $21,000, which is full for in-state, and UCF is offering the $21,000, we have a fighting chance. Whereas if we stay at the $17,000 and UCF goes to $21,000, where's the athlete going to want to go? And so that's what they're saying. They want to keep the competitive edge, and that's the reason for it. As I just want to explain, that was the reason that athletics gave for the cost.
Senator Semina.
So my issue right now with this whole cost of attendance is if, as the Senate, if we're going to represent all the students, I feel it's important that we represent the students who have the professional athletes that work just as hard as the full-time athletes do. And I just don't think it's fair at all to the student body that when you're trying to allocate something like this for future students that aren't even here, future athletes, convince them to come to USF. We have students here that already work hard every day, but they can't get that kind of funding due to the fact they're a part-time student.
Senator Johnson.
Kind of going off that same vein, again, like, you definitely understand the merit of trying to provide, trying to alleviate the cost of more student athletes at the school. My biggest issue is not so much that we attempt to do that, it's that we increase the cost of attendance to do that. Which means that athletics, I don't know how much money they get, let's assume they get $1 million. Who knows what, let's assume they get $1 million, okay? When I sat in on this local P committee, they were very okay with talking about changing the amount from $600,000 to even potentially $200,000, right? Which to me, the idea that the athletics department has a great grasp on the money they're spending and where it's being allocated to is not there. So that's just as a non-athletic student looking out, from outside looking in, I feel that if we give the athletics department more money, what we're doing is not so much alleviating the struggle that athletic students are having to go through. It's more like we're subsidizing the idea that some departments don't have to be as responsible with their money as other departments do. And I'm afraid that in the same way with everything else in this thing, increasing the cost of attendance and allocating more money to that is just going to kind of kick it down the road as to when these organizations are going to have to get themselves in line and start cutting back on things that they don't need as much as, say, alleviating the cost of athletic students and stuff.
Senator Rodriguez.
Okay, yeah. So, they can still use the money that they have now in order to make, other athletes, future athletes, want to come here to pay like full rent, right?
Yes, technically they can use whatever money they want. It's just a matter of how much money that they have and how much they're going to cut and where they're going to cut it from. Andy can pull up the chart if you want, but each person, health, A&S, and athletic all submitted. So this is going to be the A&S fee, and so this is a list of where they get all their money and where they're spending it on. So it's a matter of if we don't do it, if they don't have necessary money, then they're going to start cutting back on certain things. And so that's like A&S. If we get to a point where we have this much money for student orgs, then all student orgs are going to get less money. And so that's how you look at it. I guess Andy can send you guys out the documents. I sent him a thing. He can send it out to all of you guys and review it. And you guys can definitely send me more emails if you want to review it. I guess that's my bad for not saying it to you guys before. But he can definitely do it. So like this athletics and how much they make and everything. So do you guys want to look at that? So they spend about they get about 43 million a year, so 22 is from the fee, 16 million is from 16 million is from the fee, 22 is from, I guess, partnerships with, I think they have IMG, stuff like that, sponsors that actually give them money and stuff like that for some of their stuff. Ticket sales, all that stuff. And so you guys can actually look at how much they make and where it's all going.
Senator Lopez.
Hi, me and a non-athlete student, basically engineering student, I think that we are only considering one part of the campus. Say the Society of Automotive Engineers. They basically work 24 hours a day, build their own cars. They go on a trip presenting their project, and they have to pay for their own food. They can work anyways, and they don't get scholarships, and they work really hard. So I feel like if we're benefiting athletes by giving them money to eat, we should benefit all other student organizations because they're working as hard as you are.
Senator Johnson.
Point of inquiry, is this the last chance the Senate has to discuss the local fee?
I guess it's up to Senate Chair and you guys as a body can also have it in a meeting next Tuesday as well.
Yeah, we would be able to discuss it next week again. Senator Johnson.
Just going off that, I feel like this is the first time, the rules presented this before, but it's the first time we really had an in-depth discussion about it. And I think that senators spending a week kind of formulating their opinions about some of these things and then bringing those up and going the rest of our time, especially because we have a lot of other stuff on the agenda.
Senator Harper.
I have a question for the air. Is it possible for student athletes to receive academic scholarships as well when they have a certain GPA from their high school and SAT score? I don't know if anybody's able to answer that.
Yes, I have academic scholarships.
Thank you.
Do I see a motion to table this discussion? Senator Johnson.
I move to table this discussion.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, I'll make sure to add this to the agenda next week, and either tonight or tomorrow, I'll send everyone the files that, Senator Yanoa has provided me with. Okay, moving down the agenda, we have statutory legislation on second reading. The only bill we have there is SBS 55-017, enumerating powers of JAC. Do I see a motion to enter second reading? Senator Maloney.
So moved.
Are there any objections? Seeing none, Senator Yoloa, you have the floor.
So this bill is essentially giving the power to JEC to issue a notice of non-compliance, but only pertaining to their grievances and investigations that are under their committee. So it literally only adds the Senate Committee on Judiciary and Ethics with a majority vote of the committee members, and in emergencies in relation to grievances and investigations under purview of the committee. So this means if they are investigating a grievance and they feel it's necessary to file notice of non-compliance, they can do it rather than waiting days on days for either Andy or Senex, or in the future Senate President or Senate vote on it. Because I know I was watching Kristen's committee this year, and they decided they want a notice of non-compliance. If Andy disagreed with it, he could say he doesn't feel it's right to write it, which means that she could potentially have to wait a week to 2 weeks for Senex to have to write it and approve it. So this will give the committee power to actually write it and issue it in their.
Senate Pro Tem Boise.
Since it's second reading, we can make amendments, right?
Yes.
So I'd like to make an amendment to the Senate Executive Committee, just to add with a majority vote, 50% plus one of the committee members.
Are there any objections to this amendment? Any amendment? Senator Yoloa.
I don't know, do we need to have the voting committee members or anything? Especially for, mostly for Senex, but.
For voting.
Pro Tem Boise.
You added in since we changed. But I mean.
I personally don't think you do, just because it's already, it says who can and can't vote, in my opinion, but up to Bob. So are there any objections to Pro Tem Borzi's motion to add with a majority vote of the committee members to 102.6.4?
I forgot to mention I added put individuals to parties too, but.
Senator Ontar.
No more points. You said that we a motion to vote.
Are there any objections to voting on this bill? Seeing none, we are now in voting procedures. Please get out your clickers. Click one if you vote yes, 2 of you vote no, and 3 will abstain. Has everyone voted? With a vote of 26-0-1 with me as the abstaining vote, this bill passes. The next item on the agenda is statutory legislation on third reading, SBS 55-016, the Comprehensive Committee Leadership Education and Authorization Reform Act, also known as the C-Clear Act. Do I see a motion to enter the third reading? Senator Hassan.
So moved.
Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, we are now on the third reading. Pro tempore Z's, you have the floor.
Alright guys, from last Senate to this Senate, I don't think we received any amendments. So, adding a minimum requirement for at least having one day per semester. Changing, put in parentheses, very important. Taking out old duties that aren't included anymore, putting in duties that we've added, like the positive point system. Clarifying sentences didn't make any sense. Just putting minimum requirements so it's more clear what your expectations are when you're elected. And defining what a Senate meeting, standing committees, and summer sessions are. Last one was clarifying things about alternate senators.
Are there any questions for Pro Tempore Z's? Senator Johnson.
No questions, I move to interview procedure.
Are there any objections to voting on this bill? Seeing none, we are now in voting procedures. Please get out your clickers. Click 1 if you'd like to vote yes, 2 if you vote no, and 3 to abstain. Has everyone voted? With a vote count of 28 to 0 to 1 with me as the abstaining vote, this bill passes. The next item on the agenda is procedural legislation on second reading. We have SBP 55-003 detailing the VOC procedure. Do I see a motion on the first reading, Senator Ahmed? So moved. Are there any objections? Senator Johnson.
I object to the second reading.
Excuse me. Do I see a motion to enter second reading of SBP 55-003? No. Senator Miller.
So moved.
Are there any objections to entering the second reading of this procedural bill? Seeing none, we are now in second reading. And Senator Maloney, you have the floor. Senator Anto.
Due to a clerical error, I lost the most updated copy that the committee worked on. There were like a few minor changes. I think one of the changes this year, or Mr. Miller clarifies what that was.
Yeah. I was gonna ask for those as an amendment that changes per second reading.
Gotcha.
Is that what you do?
Yeah. So, I sent what we have, and we will correct it as written for discussion.
Alright, so again, this is to clarify the vote of confidence procedure for Senate. The only changes that should be here from first to second reading, and again, these were made in committee, but we lost the version of the bill, so we're gonna ask for these as an amendment, hopefully somebody will do it. The changes would be, if you were polling for a vote of confidence, and the vote of confidence is about the Senate President, you can then submit it to the pro tempore instead.
It'd be under this subclass.
Okay, so that's what we're trying to add. Basically, just in case vote of confidence is about the Senate President, it makes sense to have an alternative means. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that was the only change we made in committee. Anybody would like to change that?
Do I see any motions? Senator Trump.
I have a question. Okay, so I remember last time we had a discussion, we talked about moving 3.6.1 into definitions. Was that something that was changed that wasn't put in, or is that not happening?
I think it's in the definition, but I could be wrong. I thought maybe.
I can sure that's right.
Because I feel
You're
like
right, there was a
it has
discussion about that.
yeah, it's in definitions, it doesn't need to be.
Would anybody like to?
Senator Johnson.
I would actually like to make an amendment to 3.6.1. This is just because I'm grammar Nazi, but it's shouldn't be ability to do their job, should be able to do her or his job. Sorry guys. Her.
Are there any objections to this amendment? Seeing none. President Voorhees.
I'll just check the definitions, it's not in there. But I have
Okay, alright, so with that in mind, it's not.
Senator Onto.
Oh,
No worries.
alright, so it's not in statute, it's not in Title I, but it can be tagged on onto this bill, this is a procedural bill, so we'd have to write a corresponding statutory bill, which as of now I don't have, but I think what the folks will have one soon. Or,
I do have
President Voorhees.
you have a suggested amendment to 6.1 to add whether or not the Senate has confidence, the Senate office.
Where you want me to add this?
What I'm trying to say is, put in there that whether or not the individual has broken statutes, adds the definition of vote of confidence.
So where would you like to?
Vote of confidence is a vote determining whether or not the Senate has confidence in the Senate that an officer of the Senate has violated statutes.
Repeat that last part. Where do you want it?
Or like combine, like an add, an and.
So right here?
Yeah, and. Or has violated statutes.
Are there any objections? Senator Johnson.
I object on the grounds that I believe it's redundant and that the confidence of the ability for the Senate to do the confidence of the Senate and the ability for Senate officers to do his job is not just about the violation of statutes, it's about the confidence in the officer to not in the future violate statutes. Or just something that's happened in the past also. An actual vote of confidence also, like the Senate and House of Representatives, is not necessarily about breaking the law. It's about the ability to do the job that's been given to them, and that is outside of statutes and stuff.
President Voorhees, you rescind your motion.
I will receive for discussion.
Perfect. Malongo.
So I can tell you when I wrote it, that wasn't my the new definition you're trying to add. Reason being, we have impeachment for that. We have censorship. We have investigations for that. Like Johnson was saying, I think confidence is about quite literally their ability to do their job professionally in a timely manner. And yes, in the future, if we believe they're going to break statutes based on some past habit. But I don't actually mean it to say that.
Senator Hibro.
My point was exactly the same as Juan was making. I feel like we have to speak on behalf of things specifically tailored to a person under statute. And a vote of confidence is more or less exactly and specifically whether or not we have confidence in the person's ability to do their job and do it well.
Senator Trump.
I have a question, kind of, / maybe a motion. Okay, since Abdul rescinded his motion, does that mean that part doesn't exist? Right?
Yeah, it doesn't exist right now. I have it highlighted. Type again in case the motion is.
Okay, then I have a motion.
Senator Trump.
Okay, so I moved to strike 3.6.1 from this bill. Keep the idea for when we do it in Title I.
This is striking 3.6.1 from this bill. Senator Hibble. Point of
For inquiry, in other bills, under procedure or redefining the procedure, is it not customary for us to refer to Title I definitions and also to copy the definition in the bill itself for reference?
Senator Onside. Can you please answer on that?
Is it not customary in when we're making a new procedure or when we're redefining the procedure for us to put the definition itself for reference?
Senator Onside.
To clarify, you're asking if in procedural bills, whenever we add something to definitions, whether we should, to be honest, it's a very specific situation that I don't really know a specific precedent for, but if you're asking if it makes sense, then yes, it would make sense. Defining something in ROPs that's already been defined in statutes, normally they'll just say, vote of consideration is defined and refer to statutes and conduct, because it's a lower level. So if you guys want to strike this and then have a accompanying statutory bill, we can do that. We can postpone it until the statutory bill comes in. We can pass this bill hoping that the statutory bill comes in, but if it does, that's how we get those gaps in legislation. That's the Senate and sponsors of the potential legislation.
So there's no objection?
Yeah, there was a motion. Okay, are there any objections to Senator Truong's motion to strike 6.1? Senator Malonga.
So I object because, first of all, I don't think it's a bad thing, even if we do add it to Title I to have the definition restated here. And also, if we do it in practice, we redefine majority, which is about every bill we pass, we always write 50% plus one, even though majority we just redefine the summer in that.
Senator Truong, do you rescind your motion?
I understand.
Senator Johnson.
Question for the year, I guess. 3.6.5, and the subject debate to have equal chance to voice their stance on the DOC. I understand in principle what you're trying to say, but in practice, equal chance to both sides, I don't think is necessarily a good idea because, first off, there might be more senators on one side against the person being a DOC than the other, so I feel like giving equal chance would be giving the senator on trial, more or less, 5 minutes, as opposed to, if say 5 senators each get a minute. I don't know if that's how you want to word that, but also.
Just to clarify your point, he's not saying that senators can't discuss and speak. He's saying that the person that files the vote of confidence, the person that is subject to the vote of confidence, have equal speaking rights. Every other senator can speak as much or as little as they'd like.
So,
Senator Johnson.
we move to change it from the subject debate to have equal chance to voice their stances to have equal speaking rights. Because right now it sounds like each side should have 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I rescind my motion.
So President Rodriguez said, first of all, it is about the speaker of the subject and then the reason I wanted a word like that as opposed to they shall each have 5 minutes, they shall each have equal speaking times. The reason I put it like that is I want it to be the principle of which we got to debate. So in other words, we're not going to favor one side over the other. We'll get a chance to speak for as long as the Senate wishes to hold the discussion, but it won't be just about hearing. It won't just be about hearing the positive. It's a general principle, guys. I understand if you think it's a little worded, if you want to change it, that's fine. But that was what I was getting at.
Any points or motions? Senator Hibble.
I just like this motion to slightly redefine the definition given, where a vote of confidence, a vote between the House and Senate has confidence in the Senator's ability to do their job. I feel like saying vote of confidence and then putting confidence in definitions a little repetitive and confusing in a way. So instead of confidence, we could use like a positive trust in the Senator's ability to do their job.
Are there any objections to this motion? Senator Johnson.
Sounds awkward.
Is that an objection?
Yeah, I object on the grounds that I feel that, this is semantics, definition of semantics, but I would object on the grounds that I feel confidence is not, while redundant, I don't think it necessarily is misconstrued. It misconstrues the reader to put confidence Senator ability to work his job, so.
President Voorhees.
Slight to revert to the same definition. To a vote of confidence is to determine.
Got a motion?
Yeah.
Friendly amendment, Urban.
You and Seth on
No.
No?
Fine, Iverson.
Okay. Are there any objections? Are there any other objections to this motion? Seeing none, it has been added to the bill. Are there any other questions, motions, or points? Senator Trump.
If there are no further questions or discussions,
You rescind your motion.
I was just gonna switch to her and his. Other statutes and states or whatnot.
Alphabetic, well, just point of information, alphabetic for his, that's why, you know, that's just, never mind, sorry. Sorry, guys, sorry, ladies, that's right.
Senator Malonga.
I know this definition is so controversial. I would like to move to add a subclause to 3.6.3, stating that if the Senate President is the subject of the VOC, the submission can be made to the Senate President pro tempore.
Are there any objections to this motion? Senator Trump.
just a friendly amendment to change and shall.
Are there any other objections or friendly amendments to this motion? Seeing none, this will be added to the bill. Senator Malonga.
Move to voting procedure.
Are there any objections to entering voting procedures? If not, the vote please. Seeing no objections, we are now in voting procedures. Please click 1 if you vote yes, 2 if you vote no, and 3 if you abstain. I would like to remind everyone, has everyone clicked in? Has everyone voted? With a vote count of 29-0-1, with me as the abstaining vote, this bill passes. Next item on the agenda is fiscal legislation on first reading. The first bill is SBA 55-024, bedsiders in the wild. Do I see a motion under the first reading? Senator Gibson. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we are now in first reading. And never send me that thing.
Is Alex Strauss in the room?
How you doing, buddy?
The interim budget account balance is $103,282.39.
I love it.
I believe in your talk the other day, you said we.
Senator Law.
I believe the other day you said you got 100,000 so far. Is that true or not true?
No, I said that we had gotten down to $100,000.
Okay, Senator Hassan, you have the floor.
Okay, so basically, Wild is an organization which we
so that men and women can like take an active role in their own reproductive health. So basically, they ask for 2,200 for food, 105 open materials. Yeah, and that would be, and their events were the pre-med AMSA trivia night, Bedsiders in the Wild Spring Banquet, the Girl Code and the Guy Code Unwrapped, both of which are taking place in the Greek Village, the Sexual Health Panel, the t-shirts and overflow advertisement. So Girl Code Unwrapped is basically a discussion of sexual health which would take place in the Greek Village. So they asked for food, utensils for this event. Pre-med AMSA trivia night, they will be working with the pre-med AMSA on a joint trivia night at the Marshall Center. And it would focus on a variety of health-related issues. And it's open to everyone, and they asked for from here as well. They're having a for spring, and it's open to everyone, all USF students. They would be recruiting new members and discussing sexual health issues and opening the floor to projects. Guy Code Unwrapped is the same thing, what is the Girl Code Unwrapped, just the men version, talk about men's sexual health. And sexual health panel with sexual health specialists to discuss various components. I think we have a speaker fee for this one, right? And t-shirts, they ask for t-shirts to distribute throughout the year. Yeah, anyone have any questions?
Yes, Senator Aziz.
You have the bill, sponsorship, right? Number one.
Numbers accurate.
Broken for Aziz.
I move that you're voting on SBA 55-024, Travis Sims, Historic Question.
Senator Yoa.
Could you tell me why for t-shirts you went from 500 to 125?
As per I recall, they have 25 members in the organization at the moment, and they didn't ask for a specific number, and they didn't ask for like 100, so we just went ahead and gave them 25.
Senator Yoa.
So if it says that they only give them out to students throughout the year, so why wouldn't you go above their membership cap?
That is something the committee decided on as a whole. I personally.
The logic behind that was that organizations that request, we allocate up to maximums when we have the opportunity to, so that's why for a lot of t-shirt requests, we can allocate up to $500, regardless whether or not they have the 5,000 or $501. With this particular one though, because then it gives an exact if that was the standard we want to adopt, then we can easily say, organization doesn't ask for the t-shirts anymore, or we just get $500 for free organization. I personally feel, and I think the committee feels, that we should allocate as much as possible within reason, and I think the within reason part means that if we think that an organization is really trying to inflate their budget requests, then we should appease them. And that's the case in both sides.
Are there any other points? Do I see a motion? Senator Milano.
Move to enter voting procedures.
Are there any objections to any voting procedures on SBA 55-024? Seeing no objections, we are now in voting procedures. Click 1 to vote no and 3 to abstain. With a vote count of 28 to 1, this next item on the agenda is SBA 55-026, Love and Romance Club. Do I see a motion on the first reading? Senator Miller.
I move to enter the first reading on the Love and Romance Club.
Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, we are now in first reading.
We help people find their one true love by providing them with the necessary opportunity atmosphere as well as engaging philanthropy to help make the world a better practice. This organization originally submitted a budget request to the tune of $150,000. And I spoke to them, they really know what they were doing, so I allowed them to resubmit it. And the resubmission still included things we couldn't allocate for. Questions we wanted to, but I don't really think it's pertinent. Bottom line is that the committee decided we should go ahead and zero fund the events because we couldn't find a single fundable thing in the budget.
Senator Eloy.
Could you just tell us why?
So down the list, there's a romantic music concert. They didn't know where it was going to be or who they wanted to invite. They wanted to have a lecture by a professor on love and communication. They didn't know which professor or when it was going to be or where they were going to have it. They wanted money to build a butterfly farm on campus and buy the land from the university, and we couldn't let them do that. Dinner, but they wanted to have it off campus because they didn't think USF had appropriate venues for that. They wanted to do a manly makeover, and again, no date, no location, but they wanted $300 for hair gels, aftershaves, deodorant, sprays, herbal jars, stuff like that. They wanted to buy a boat, a love boat, for the lake. They wanted a social barbecue, which we could have allocated for, but again, they didn't. Any details talking to me or in their request about where or when it was going to be. They wanted to have a party, same kind of thing. They wanted club uniforms. Originally, this was a $10,000 request for suits of armor that had hearts stylized into the armor. Club officers. After resubmission, they didn't clarify exactly what kind of uniforms they wanted, but we couldn't allocate for personal items. That's why.
Councilor Voorhees.
I have a question. So when you met with them, did you say any of their locations for their events?
No. The president, there's 3 members in this club, and they had yet to actually plan out any of the things when they submitted their budget request. So they had about 3 weeks to meet up and talk about some of the venues, and they failed to submit. And it's funny, interesting, the first budget they had actually had venues, but the second one didn't. So, no, they didn't talk about locations.
Senator Lopez.
Well, just as a question for that, there's only 3 of them high-day student organizations and G10 more.
I don't know.
Should be informed that they're not currently an organization then, or I mean, do you do that?
I spoke to them and asked, apparently there were 10 when they started the club, and I don't know even if they have an advisor. I honestly, when I spoke to them, I told them that you need to make sure that you're not in trouble constitutionally as far as numbers go, but that's outside of my purview.
Councilor Voorhees.
In terms of figuring out if they're active or not, probably something that Chris would have to do before he accepts them. Like, we kind of wasted his time if he meets with them and finds out they're not active. He just asks, like, Masha, I'm sure she tells you.
And they are active. I don't understand how they're active when they're members, but they're registered as active, so.
Any other questions? Do I see any motions? Senator Ahmed.
Motion to vote.
Are there any objections to entering voting procedures? Seeing no objections, we are now in voting procedures. Please click 1 to vote yes, 2 to vote no, and 3 to abstain. With a vote count of 29-0-1, this bill passes. The next item on the agenda is SBA 55-027 at Torch.
Yeah, the Actuarial Society.
That's that word. Do I see any motions to enter first reading? Senator Hill, excuse me.
Motion to enter first reading on SBA 55-027.
Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, we are now on first reading.
So the Actual Society USF aims to follow the growth of its organization, raise awareness about the profession, and inform consumers about the actuarial career. An actuary, I learned this, is basically works for an insurance company and helps decide what insurance rates are. I'm sure someone in business could explain that better, but that's what the club is about. They requested $4,500 just about from all these. Most of it came from material. And then they were allocated this much, and I'll explain why. Basically, we can allocate it for t-shirts. The things that they asked for money for were a lot of study materials, and you can't pay for that. They asked for like two or three different types of study courses for the test that actuarial students would have to take to become an actuary, and we were able to allocate for that. And then also the events they actually wanted to put on were events using these kind of things for guest speakers that were like dependent on the purchasing of these study guides. So we weren't able to do that. With that being said, we were able to allocate for the majority of their t-shirts. They requested $210 and requesting around $150 because they run 30 shirts and that's 30 times 5. So the overhead comes out to
Senator Yolo.
I mean, I don't know if this is against statutes or not, but if they're not doing any events for students or anything for students, why would they give them t-shirts?
because we're allocating flexible spending. So even though they are getting money for t-shirts, if they happen to want to use $159 over the course of the year for events that are open access to other students, we can do that.
Senator Yolo.
So I guess my personal opinion on this though is that if they're not doing anything for the student body except for getting themselves t-shirts or being members of the organization, I don't think we should fund them. But that's just my personal opinion, it's up to the body, but I think it's not acceptable use of student funds to just give a club t-shirts to use.
That's a really valid point. I would say that from a viewpoint neutrality standpoint, since it is an open access club, anyone can thus be a part of the club, and anyone can get access to the t-shirts even if you're not in the club. It is technically free for other students.
Senator Hibbo.
Just a question now that brought that up. Is there a minimum number of events that a student organization has to hold to be able to receive money?
No, several organizations have actually submitted only one event on their request and already access to travel grants. So as long as you have one thing based on your budget request they're asking money for, it's perfectly acceptable.
Is there any more questions? I see a motion. Senator Hibbo. Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, we are now in voting procedures. Click 1 to vote yes, 2 to vote no, and 3 to abstain. Has everyone voted? I think I'm missing one person. Going once. Alright. With a vote count of 22 to 6 to 1, with me as the abstaining vote, this bill passes. The next item on the agenda is SBA 55-029, the Parliamentary Debate Society. Do I see a motion to enter first reading? Senator Ahmed.
So moved.
Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, we are now in first reading.
This organization asked for an event, which was held at the beginning of October. They submitted it at the beginning of October. So we have 0 fund there. And that was it.
Senator Miller. Are there any objections to voting on this bill? Senator Trump, please state your objection.
I have a question.
Do you rescind your motion? Senator Trump, you have the floor.
Okay, so if we vote to zero fund, that means we can't get more funding for
they're allowed to apply for annual funding, but, they are not able to reapply for interim funding.
Pro Tempore Aziz.
So this zero funding fee, Antonio, really has no, other than record keeping, that's what it is, cause that's what it, like, it serves no other like function than just on record saying zero funding fee. Cause you usually just put the ineligible organizations or zero funding ones in a folder after it goes through committee and then it comes to Senate. So just more like transparency.
Senator Rodriguez.
Motion to vote.
Are there any objections? Senator Ulloa.
I had a question.
Your assembly. Thank you. Senator Ulloa.
So was it communicated to this organization that this is what would happen?
Yes,
Senator Rodriguez.
I'd like to reinstate that
Are
motion.
there any objections to voting on SBA 55-029? Seeing no objections, we're now on voting procedures. Please click 1 to vote yes, 2 to vote no, and 3 to abstain. With a vote count of 29-0-1, this bill passes. The next item on the agenda is SBA 55-030, the Trombone Club. Do I see a motion under first reading, Senator Miller?
So moved.
Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, we are now on first reading. Senator Ditzer, you have the floor.
Hi guys. Okay, this is the Trombone Club. So they got exact allocation. Materials, they got $635. Subtotal $1,565, and total is $1,658. They're gonna have a trombone day, and they're getting like a trombonist to lecture for 2 events. And they're gonna have a banquet, and they have t-shirts. So the USF Trombone Day is an opportunity for Trombone Club at USF to reach out in the community and give back to younger students as well as others in the community. Students from all over the university will be invited to see what other students from the trombone studio have been working on. And there will be free master classes, Q&A sessions, and performances all day. So they ask for utensils, art supplies, and a fee for the guest artist. So it's all about tromboning. Okay, and then lecture series, which are trombonists or other instrumentalists from the Tampa community speaks to Trombone Club at USF to give a unique insight they would not otherwise receive. So refreshments will be provided there. Again, utensils, art supplies, and the fee for the speaker. And then the banquet. So recruitment event for the Trombone Club, in which all members of the College of the Arts are invited to engage in social activities with other trombonists and trombone enthusiasts across campus. Games and activities, and live music and arts. And then they ask for t-shirts. So 100 people, $5 a shirt.
Senator Trump.
Wish to enter ready for
Are there any objections? Senator Ulloa, please state your objection.
I had a question.
You rescind your motion, Senator Trump. Senator Ulloa, you have the floor.
I believe for other organizations, for when they had lecturers and speakers and stuff, if the descriptions were the same, you guys lowered funds later. Did you guys, is there a reason for not doing this in this one? I'm just curious.
I don't think that's the precedent we've used.
'Cause I know, I believe one of them you had, it was the same exact event, one in fall, one in spring, and you cut the one in spring, I believe.
The Bhakti Yoga Society.
I think that, okay, so the Bhakti Yoga Society, they were wanting to put on
two giant dance parties, like the exact same. This one though, it's two different lectures about two different things by two different people, so essentially it's not the same event, but the other, the Bhakti Yoga, they were the exact same thing. So.
Senator Trump. Are there any objections to voting on SBA 55-030? Seeing no objections, we are now in voting procedures. Click 1 to vote yes, 2 to vote no, and 3 to abstain. Has everyone clicked in? With a vote count of 28 to 1 to 1, with me as the abstaining vote, this bill passes. The next item on the agenda is SBA 55-032, Future Physical Therapist Organization. Do I see a motion on our first reading? Senator Bonner. Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, we are now on first reading. And Senator Hibba, you have the floor.
Alright, so the physical therapist organization is very professional. Food, $4.50, they asked for $4.50, we give them the full amount. Materials, they asked for $16.60, we only give them $655, a little more than that. So you can see they asked for a total of $2236.60, we gave a total of $1171.30. We gave them $20 for t-shirts, we $20 for social in the spring, social in the fall, and spring semester welcome. We cut from because of the dates. So the end of the fall semester social, one of their events was on September 30th. They asked for $500 for shirts. We allocated them the full amounts for the shirts. That's $500 for one. They had a second event on November 20th. They asked for $150 for food. We gave them $450 for food. It was very, $75 a head. Materials, we gave them $50 for utensils was the first one, $20 for decorations. And that's the same we started to apply as of late, because they did the ask for decorations. Second event on January, spring semester welcome. They asked for $150 for food, we allocated them the full amount. They asked for $220 for materials. We allocated $45, which is the same, $25 for utensils and $20 for decorations. The end of this they asked for $150 for food, that rounds up the entire $450. They asked for another $20 for materials, we gave them $40 for materials, that's 20 for utensils, and 20 for decorations. And they asked for $500 for a lecture series for guests, and we don't fund lecture series, and so we didn't fund that, and so it comes down to $655 and $450. And that's it.
Senators. Senator Gibson. Are there any objections to voting on this bill? Seeing no objections, we are now in voting procedures. Please click 1 to vote yes, 2 to vote no, and 3 to abstain. Has everyone voted? With a vote count of 29 to 0 to 1, this bill passes. The next item on the agenda is announcements. Do we have any announcements? Senator Johnson.
I just really want to thank my committee again, and Melissa Denzer for presenting some stuff tonight. It's hard to express the enthusiasm I got when I said that I wanted people to start presenting stuff, but it was really, really cool. And the fact that even people outside the committee wanted to do it is really, it's nice. I like this job because of that. So I just want to thank you guys again. And I also wanted to go ahead and encourage you guys to sign up for audits. I know Abdul sent out the list from the business office of auditable events, and you guys now need to do one per semester. So go ahead and knock it out. If you guys have questions about how an audit should be done or what the point of an audit is, go ahead and talk to me and I can help you out with that. So, and she's so active. So, thank you.
Abdulaziz.
Alright, the poll samples are in the back. You have the women's sizes and the men's sizes, and the sign chooser. If you have not signed up for it, please sign up for it so I can get all the sizes so I can actually order them so you can receive them. So after we're done, and you're handing in a clicker, check the size, try on the one you want, because you have men and women, so I can divide. So
Senator Williams. With respect to the audits, what's the difference between what's highlighted in green and what's highlighted in yellow?
On those sheets, the events that
Senator Johnson.
on those sheets, the events that are highlighted in green are events that the business office has 100% said yes, you can allocate the money for this, or has given them the money to allocate for. Whereas events in yellow are more tentative. So I would, if you can, I would pick the green events first. But if you have a question about yellow events, go ahead and email Abdul or I, and we can go ahead and find out if it's included in the sheets.
Senator Sanchez.
I was just going to say thank you for all those who signed up for the 10th day for next week. We only have coverage until 12:30 and breakdown doesn't start until 1:30. So if anyone is able to fill in that hour, please.
Senator Hartman.
If you haven't voted yet yourself, please do so from your MyUSF login. The vote option right there. Make it happen.
Senator Ulloa.
I was gonna say that, but I won't say my other two. So when Andy sent you guys the local fee committee stuff, please make sure you guys look through that, and you guys can either send me an email with what you guys think or questions you have. You guys can email Coco what you guys think, either one of the two, and we'll definitely get back to you. The last thing is, just want to let you guys know we are going with green shirts again next year. Unfortunately, due to Aziz's decision, I'm purple, but Aziz apparently is.
Senator Ramirez.
I have a question. Where's the Candy's bios?
Director Manka.
I guess wherever Steve Garment put them, they're not allowed to be on the vote site because we don't, even though the vote next software allows that for university council advice, we also just put like any ballot, the election elements on. So it's up to Steve Garment to plus the ballots, excuse me, put bios on their own website. We have to go back to Steve Garment.
I guess when I did last year, it was on Facebook, but we don't know.
Yeah, we're not allowed to get in there.
Okay.
Attorney General Alex Johnson.
Just because this happened to me, if you happen to be a double major or you have any constituents that are double majors that are in different colleges, you may need to speak to KB in regards to getting them to be able to vote. Like I'm in behavioral and community and arts and sciences, so I had to pick. So just a tip.
Senator Semina.
Well, thank everyone for coming out to homecoming. Hope you enjoyed it. If you were on the SG float, I hope you guys had a great time. Hope you enjoyed that. And get ready for USF week in April, because it's going to be a fantastic time. Go Bulls.
Okay, I have an announcement to make. So in lieu of Senator Shiflett not being able to make tonight's meeting, I feel like I saw a lot more senators on their computers and not paying attention, which is terrible. I understand that Shiflett typically comes around and tells you to get off Facebook or whatever it may be, but he shouldn't have to do that, guys. It's 2.5, 3 hours a week. I don't know, it just doesn't look good when everyone's on Facebook, everyone's on their phone, and not really paying attention to what's on the floor. So just, I'd appreciate it if you guys try paying a little bit more attention. That's my announcement. Are there any more announcements?
So we're gonna have new senators next week, so we need to set a good example for the young
Senator Johnson.
There's no more announcements. I move to adjourn. Sorry, move to enter.
Alright. Are there any more announcements? Seeing no more announcements, we'll move down to final roll call. Please click one to mark if you're present. Has everyone clicked? Has everyone clicked it? Turn their phones in. Are there any objections to adjourning this meeting? Seeing no objections, this meeting is adjourned at 8:31 p.m.
You're gonna like make sure that everyone drops themselves.
Don't forget the composites, if you wanna be on the composite, sign up for a spot.